Hello and welcome to Cartoonist Kayfabe. My name is Jim Rugg.
I'm Ed Piskor.
Before we dive into today's book, I want to call attention to our road trip in October. We will be at Columbus CXC October 6th through the 9th. Come out and say hello. Let us know in the comments what we should pull out from the Billy Ireland when we're there to maybe make a special episode or two. At the end of the month, we will close out October at Baltimore Comic-Con, October 28th to the 30th. Anybody that hasn't come to Baltimore Comic-Con, this is a comic book fans show. So come check that out, say hello, let's talk some comics. This is the birthplace of Cartoonist Kayfabe, by the way. October 22nd, you can catch me in Jacksonville at their public library for a comic and zine fest. So pretty busy October. Speaking of October, here's our 2022 official Cartoonist Kayfabe-tober drawing prompts, and we will be sharing this on our social media as the time gets closer. Hope that a lot of you at home, we know you're cartoonists and makers, so hopefully you'll jump on board the Cartoonist Kayfabe-tober and draw some of these things.
Yeah, we'll retweet and repost a lot of that stuff. You just got to tag Cartoonist Kayfabe. Doing the @ isn't going to do it because we're just not going to see it, but if you tag us, we'll be able to go through tags and repost some of that stuff.
Sounds good. And we are working cartoonists, so the best way you can support Cartoonist Kayfabe, the channel, is buy our comics. Hulk Grand Design Monster Madness, a retelling of the 60-year history of the Incredible Hulk. The comics are in stores now. The collection will be in stores in December. You can pre-order that now. Street Angel Deadly Squirrel Live, the second printing out from Image Comics now, available wherever you buy comics. This collects all of my Image Comics Street Angel, plus a few extra bonus stories. Red Room Trigger Warnings, the second season of Red Room, in stores in September, and you can see this is a real book. It's really going to make it in time. Pick that up wherever you get comics or books, and look at the perfect companion piece to Red Room, the Antisocial Network, last year's season of Red Room, so pick these up wherever books are bought and sold. So today, Ed, we're going to look at Venom, Lethal Protector, #1. This is 1992, one of the top 5 books of 1992 in terms of sales. I was looking at some of these popular books throughout the 90s and was surprised to find that we had covered all of the books from this year. Wildcats #1, Death of Superman, Spider-Man 2099, and Spawn #8 all make it onto that list, with Venom, Lethal Protector. So Venom doing a face turn here. And you can see this is early 90s. You get this metallic foil stamp cover. Got to have a gimmick cover on a top-selling book, right?
Shiny, yeah, man. And it's the Silver Sable, like all of that stuff. We did a video a long time ago, man. It's like proto-kayfabe video when we're going through Todd's New Dimension comics. And
yes,
that lady who
Amanda,
yeah, like she showed off. She's like, my brother got me this comic.
Yes. Whenever she was a young comics reader,
and you were like, well, if you still have it, it's worth $1 because it was down in the dollar
That's
boxes.
Right. Fun cover. I do like that. You know, Venom, a photogenic character, always looked pretty cool. Hard to draw a bad Venom.
The game of telephone that is played with Venom, like if you track like all of his drawing appearances over the years, like watching him morph and watching that mandible jaw get distorted more and more and more.
The other piece that's tame on this, he has a wicked tongue at times.
The tongue,
that is a very human, very basic tongue compared to some of the stuff that we would see Eric Larson do with that thing.
Oh yeah.
So Mark Bagley, a longtime Spider-Man artist, is the artist that is tasked with this. I bought this back in the day and then got rid of it. This is a new copy. We're going to find what happens when you buy dollar copies of Venom as we go through this.
Cover, actually.
It's going to get worse. But I remember back in the day being disappointed because Venom, Todd McFarlane character, right?
Yeah.
Eric Larson went pretty wild with him. And I always thought Mark Bagley was this cleaner, more classic superhero style, not the right fit for Venom.
Yeah.
I wanted Tex, Kelly Jones, somebody that was going to push the monster side of Venom harder. And so that was one of the missteps back in the day for me.
More than that, Bagley might be stretching himself with a couple other comics at the same time. So this is pretty dashed out, kind of Bagley. And also, this is the post-Jim Lee era. Nature abhors a vacuum. Marvel needs some of that kind of energy. So he's doing what like Herb Trimpe had to do and what like Alex Saviuk had to do, where he's has to inject these like unnatural to him kind of hatchings and shit like that.
Yeah.
And you could tell that's not comfortable for him. Like this isn't his natural flow. This ain't his style.
This is also coated paper. Yeah. So, this is kind of a prestige project in that way. You know, it's a $3 cover price, and it's dated here February 93, so maybe it's 93, not 92. But it's a premium book, $3 at that time. A lot of Marvel books, $1.25 maybe back then. And it's notable to me, Della Rosa and Milgram as inkers. So the reason I make note of that is you've got a kind of prestigious project on your hands here. It's a big push, sold well, Venom's popular, and yet you've got different inkers on issue 1. Like, are there deadline issues already at play in issue 1 of like a big project for Marvel?
Well, this is the era where stuff is the bubble has just burst, so it's more important to get issue number 1 out. So get a couple of inkers on the job. I was talking with Greg Wright, and he said that like one of the most reliable hands at the time was Mark Bagley. Turn a book around 2-3 weeks.
Yeah.
So he can do his job quick, but it doesn't mean an inker's going to be able to ink.
It's a good payoff too for Bagley, presumably.
Absolutely.
The third biggest seller of the year, a guy who sticks with Marvel when all these other guys leave.
Absolutely.
So it's nice to see somebody get rewarded for that. Good for him. This panel, tell me what's happening there, because I can't.
Yeah, I know, man. I'm presuming that he's filling him up with some symbiote, but it looks almost like vomit, and it's coming out like he's doing like you said a funny joke to him after he drank some coffee.
Right. That is what it looks like.
It feels more exit than entrance.
Kills the guy.
Yeah.
Whatever this does, it kills him. It's over. You'll do nothing but decay now. Wow. Pretty casual and just killing this guy on page 3.
Yeah.
But this is, like I said, it's a face turn for Venom, who moves to San Francisco area to start over. I think Spider-Man saved somebody's life, somebody Venom loved, so he had to kind of like admit Spider-Man's good, even though he still hates him. And that's part of why he moved away, so that he wouldn't be have to be at war with Spider-Man. It's
a very bad comic, man. Like the exposition of like single dude just rolling around, but I guess we have the benefits of multiple personalities or whatever. There's all this so we get to have Venom just like explain the whole story. It's not, we're being told a story. We're not being shown a story here. We're being told all the back matter that happened in Amazing Spider-Man comics.
It's very true. And I like Bagley's art for the most part. But man, whenever you think about sort of the way Larson and McFarlane would do just nuts poses of Spider-Man, giant Spider-Mans, whenever you get these kind of pages, I could use a little bit more flair here.
Yeah, for sure. And they would also sell you more on like some impact of like jumping off of this thing. You'd see this getting turned up or accordioned or, folded like a taco or something. But you just get like little lines. So he's a very classic guy. He's a hand. He's a job dude. And also Eddie Brock with the mullet. Like, the mullet wasn't cool right then.
Yeah. It's back now, I think, right?
Yeah, with a certain segment.
What is his t-shirt? HTND? Do you know what that means?
I think it's a swinger club.
Is he sneaking something in there?
All the ladies that, like, she's my cherry pie. Like, they like that mullet, and they hang out with him at the swinger bars.
Look at this. No pets parties, loud music, blah, 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 blah. Youngbloods. No Youngbloods.
Dave Michelini, man.
Not subtle either. It's almost like your letter might have lettered that sign. The cops find out that Eddie Brock is there, and of course, he's wanted for murder, and they show up and now blows his cover. Where is he going to sleep? Can't even check into a hotel room without things going wrong.
And it's those like, by the half hour hotel rooms in the Tenderloin, man. Anybody could get a hotel there.
Spider-Man, comes across the wires that Venom's been spotted in San Francisco.
So we get even more exposition. So much exposition explaining all this stuff, and it's just...
There's a lot.
It's just so boring.
Yeah, this is the worst example of like the every issue is somebody's first. But this is an issue 1. Like, there's got to be a better way to communicate some of this stuff than have just exposition on exposition. Like, we've had now, this is, I believe, the 4th page of exposition, and we're, 9 pages in.
Yeah, or you just don't do it. Like, in like writing master classes, and like you read these books on writing, they'll say stuff like, if you go to a party and you meet somebody and they tell you about all of their good qualities and stuff, do you believe them? And that's what you're getting here. You're having Spider-Man like say all this stuff, and it could be an unreliable narrative. It's kind of meaningless. Show us, and every creative writing teacher says stuff like, I wish I had a rubber stamp that just said show don't tell, that I could just put on everybody's paper, because that's a common lesson that I have for almost 100% of my students, and that's what this is. Like, we're not being shown a story here.
So I don't remember all the particulars of this series, but I think he ends up taking up with homeless people.
I mean, we'll get that in this issue.
And I feel like this actually is kind of a slick into that. You know, like, he's walking around like, what am I going to do? How am I going to get a room? He's essentially worried about being homeless whenever he stumbles on some homeless people that are being accosted by these, typecast dudes right out of, like, Canon films with their suits.
Yeah.
Attacking these homeless people, and kind of stumbles into that. Like, this feels like the most organic piece, not the most exciting page, but a very, a very organic way that this comes about. This could have been really heavy-handed.
And, like, they're probably trying to get them out of there for some bullshit Marvel, like, secret potion. This is fun.
This is my dollar. This is my proof of my dollar. I assume that this panel is really cool probably here that's cut out. But I don't think I am confused by what's missing.
Sure.
I'm able to still follow the story.
But, like, if this was a modern-day comic, you could imagine that there would be, like, bad guys, like, just trying to get the people who have rent control out of their fucking spaces right away, so that we can, get a Twitter person and a Google person to, like, be part of a rent auction.
Okay.
But, like, it's probably some sort of potion or something that these people have knowledge about, that, they need to get offed by these gangsters.
When Spider-Man learns that Venom's in San Francisco, he hops a plane there. And so now we get Spider-Man in issue 1 joining the fracas in the park.
I feel like in a panel. Like, it's quick. Oh, man, I need to go. Yeah, like right here, man, I better go to San Francisco. And then he's there the next moment. See,
the time doesn't add up.
This is some of the stuff I'm talking about, where this is very unnatural Mark Bagley. Like, he's totally, like, I could just imagine him, like, looking at, I feel like we saw Professor X with all these same marks from the Shi'ar issue with Wolverine holding, like, about to claw him on the cover. So Bagley is being stretched in a way that's not comfortable to him.
You know what else? Like, Bagley does a really good Spider-Man, in my opinion.
Yeah.
This looks rushed. Like, I don't understand if you have a big number 1 that you're launching, and I know you say you got to capitalize on it, but at the same time, like, this feels like they're really putting this together quickly.
Yeah.
This has to be just a cool shot of him and Venom fighting, I guess.
Yeah.
Love this, though. The bad guys don't care who it is, and they just unload on everybody.
Straight Canon films. I think I see Amwat in the in a shooting gallery. You see him? Front
That's
and center.
Awesome. Any of these dudes could be Amwat. Amwat could have used a bit of a ponytail.
That's true.
Yeah.
Amwat 2. Let's get a sequel.
Exactly.
Ben, are you out there?
So weirdly, suddenly they're allies, right? Protect these innocent people, get rid of the people who are just firing guns into that crowd, and weirdly team up. It's fun that they sort of end that as a team up, and here we have the news footage of them fighting.
Right.
And I get it, like, this is probably the panel that's actually cut out of right here, I bet, but it's still funny. It's kind of I say it every episode, it feels like, that nothing changes in 30 years. So here's our 30-year-old comic where homelessness is a problem. Media coverage is not necessarily accurate to what we're seeing. Very, very strange.
How much time would you pour over these?
I spent more time on most of these than I did on the comics.
Yeah.
I wasn't reading this stuff back then.
Yeah.
I wanted to see cool pictures of Venom. But, like, this kind of stuff just is not that exciting. The other thing that I see here is coated paper. Now you've introduced, like, a whole new element to the digital coloring.
Yeah.
And nobody's on board yet. No. Like, it's so weird to figure out. Like, we looked at the Kevin Nolan Batman Outsiders issue, where it's like, how do you color on Baxter paper? What colors do you use from that usual palette? Once you get to, like, digital color on coated paper, it's a whole new learning curve. Like, this is practically a different medium.
It takes Marvel and DC years to catch up to what the Image guys are doing, like the Ollie Optics kind of energy, the Ruben Roods and the Joe Chiodos and the Kiko Takanashis. They did not have those kinds of people until they absorb Wildstorm or whatever in DC's case, and I don't know that Marvel ever caught up. You know, I was fully checked out. I haven't seen a Marvel comic that had all the optics level computer coloring.
Because that was always kind of a freelance gig, and buying hardware and learning that software was just too cost intensive for a freelance colorist.
Yeah.
So you had to have those couple of those places like the Dark Horse Studios or
Dark Horse wasn't even good at it.
They may not have been good at it, but they had their own color lab.
Yeah.
You know, compared to, again, like Marvel, I don't think had any of that. So here's our story, right? These are the homeless people. They live in some of these tunnels. This reminded me, do you remember that documentary in the early 2000s of like the tunnels
Dark
and the people
Days.
that lived
Great
in
documentary.
New York, I think is where that was set.
Yeah.
But it was in the tunnels and like some of the homeless people there. Kind of reminds me of that a little bit.
Yeah, where they set up the whole communities. And it's a more realistic, you know, it's not this ain't the Morlocks.
Yeah, right. And they're talking about, one, whether or not he can even join them. And then, like, two, this Roland Treese, who's been trying to drive us out of this area for months. That's who those hired thugs were from. So you're getting, like, clearly that's the story here. And now, let's do some Marvel stuff. But see, this is the disappointing color, too. Like, we're underground already. We're doing these kind of, like, browns and oranges. And now we get cool robots, and they're just orange.
Yeah.
Like, they just blend into that background.
Yeah, not very good.
Not very good.
Not inspired. This whole comic, in one word, uninspired. On everybody's part.
Yeah, and you know what's really disappointing to me? Okay, we're going to do a bunch of orange. Venom's blue, so maybe that makes sense. Yellows and oranges, you know, he's a complementary color. He should pop. But half the time, they're drawing him, he's gray here. You know, he's orange here. Like, make him blue in these panels. At least make him pop against those orange and yellow robots that he's facing.
Right. Little Rick Parker cameo piece.
Joey Cavalieri doing the Stan's soapbox, Joey's joint here. I always think of Cavalieri as a DC editor that had a really good eye for talent, but I didn't realize he had done a stint at Marvel first.
Me neither.
And look at this. The bubble's bursting, man. We are just trying to unload like 10 color independent comics, 10 black and white independent comics. We are just giving out like big discounts on packs of comics.
When you start getting non-discriminate, there's overhead that needs to be taken care of, man.
You still have your who are the hot characters though? A Wolverine grab bag, a Ghost Rider grab bag, $10. Punisher $8, Hulk only $7.
That feels right.
X-Men $10. So that's basically our story. The robots kind of start to overcome Venom, and well, I guess there's one last piece. Somehow falling through those tunnels with the robots on top of them, they've fallen through time.
Of course, man. You need some excuse to read the second issue. I think this is Bagley also.
It is.
And it's really cool. Like, you sort of see what he does, man. This is Steve Ditko profile with McFarlane eye. You know, he's like bringing both sensibilities, man. The anatomy feels a little more subtle.
Yeah, I like the cartooniness of this. It almost feels like what we would see in like the Batman animated series once they would overhaul those characters and do the more cartoony stuff.
Yeah.
Bagley, I think, is a really good Spider-Man artist. Would do Ultimate Spider-Man whenever they launched that Ultimate line. But you know what? If you read the fine print, so we're talking about how this looks like maybe it's done quickly. He's also doing an anniversary issue of Spider-Man. He might have done Spider-Man this whole run, like simultaneously. He might have stayed on Amazing Spider-Man. But this issue's 64 pages. So now you're doing like a new book you're launching, still drawing Spider-Man and doing anniversary oversized issues.
He made some good cash that year, man.
Yeah, it was a good year for sure. But a good artist. And the guy that came through the Marvel tryout issues.
Yes.
Seems like that's popped up a couple times in the last couple issues, and Bagley's the guy.
Yes, he won it.
You know, my Bagley stuff is always New Warriors,
Absolutely.
where I didn't even know who he was at first. I bought it because it was a new series and then fell in love with his work on that.
Yeah, he was a regular name, you know, like when you were getting those comics. And he would stretch, you know, he was a John Byrne level of output kind of guy, you know, you'd see his name 2-3 times a month.
Looking through this, I saw little shades of like a Ron Frenz in his work. You know, it's a classic. It's almost like what I think of as 80s, like you know, that Marvel toy almost. It kind of has that quality. So pretty neat. I like this cover. I hated the inside. This issue was just like, I'm surprised that you're going to launch Venom, and this is I don't know. That's the best you can come up with.
Yeah. That exposition stuff is just, we've seen like comics started off way better than that. You know, like, we're just launch us in the middle and just we'll handle the origin stuff. Like, do we even need it? Like, you have this cool character, it sells itself. You know, this is like that wrestling stuff where you got the giant. Now, how are you possibly going to fuck that up?
I even like the concept. Like, he leaves New York, he goes to San Francisco, where he's from, and he struggles to fit in there, and he falls in with this homeless group of people. All of that, I think, can work really well.
Yeah.
And then we're going to do, like, a time travel story, and we're going to bring Spider-Man in. Like, I don't know, man. It's third highest selling comic of the year, though, back in the day. Back in the years when they were selling a lot of comics, like, third highest selling comic of that year, probably north of 1 million copies of this sold that year.
Good looking logo, man. Chris Iolopoulos is in the chat right now. Said he made the
nice.
logo for that, and this is carried on throughout. Like whenever you see like Venom mentioned in a video game or something, like this is the logo.
It pops. It's a good cover. I like the cover a lot. I think they did very well on that. I'm sure that helped sell quite a few of those 1 million plus copies. But yeah, the inside story, I didn't stick with it back in the day either.
And you're not inspired to go back and...
I'm not reading issue 2. No.
You good to go?
I am.
Kayfabers, like, follow, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit the bell. We'll notify you when new vids are available. What's out there, Jimmy?
Hulk Grand Design, the collection is coming out in December. Need to pre-order that now at your local comic shop. Street Angel, Deadliest Girl Alive, the second printing should be in stores any day now if it's not already there, from Image Comics, collecting all of my Image comics of this homeless ninja on a skateboard. Might get along with Venom from this limited series. And you can join me on patreon.com/JimRugg, where you can see a lot more of my comics. You can download some of my out-of-print zines and mini comics there, and that link is below this video.
Red Room trigger warnings, trade paperback hitting the stands in a few weeks from now as of this recording.
And the proof, having the book.
No, it's nice. So good, man. Yeah, it's so cool when you get your comps, right? You carry it around like a little baby.
Oh, absolutely.
For a week at least, man. Lots of new artwork. Yeah, there it is. Hokuto Shinken. Lots of new artwork. About 60 pages of extra stuff in there. Great companion piece to go along with the original Antisocial Network trade paperback. These are self-contained stories, so take your pick. Give it a shot. You dig it, grab another one. You can hit up my Patreon at my link tree in the description below. You can grab these books at my link tree in the description below. At my Patreon, I'm serializing new Red Room comics that haven't hit paper yet. So $3 will get you the archive, which is all of this material. Plus, I put new strips up every Tuesday. $3, you can't beat it. What else do we have out there, Jimmy?
Subscribe to the Cartoonist Kayfabe e-newsletter at the links below this video. You can also find Cartoonist Kayfabe t-shirts and merchandise at the links below this video.
Another great way to support the Cartoonist Kayfabe channel. Jimmy, give him the marching orders, man. We'll be on our way.
Read more comics.